Let's lock in, people. If you can dial in the holy trinity of variables when it comes to TIG welding, it'll give you the best looking welds. But you've got to be able to interpret the puddle. And what better metal to demonstrate that than welding aluminum? Now, the trinity consists of three things: cleanliness, amperage, and travel speed. Finding the perfect balance between these three things will undoubtedly make you a better TIG welder, because if you don't have everything perfectly balanced, it tells you clear as day in the puddle and on the base metal. Now, a dirty weld puddle is fairly common when welding aluminum, especially whenever you're welding the mysterious cast aluminum. It's sometimes unavoidable. The reason why your aluminum welds look dirty is because the welder got a touch of the lazies. I know, because I am that welder, and I try to skip these steps all the time, and I never get the silky smooth weld that I really want, and that's because I skipped all the cleaning steps. It's just a lot of work when it comes to welding aluminum. All the things that could make a dirty weld, they all stack up. The first one I think a lot of people skip, and that's your pre-flow and post-flow. While some people might say it's not necessary, it's super necessary to keep this tungsten clean. If this tungsten is dirty, it's going to put contamination into your base material. So we're going to start there. If you have no pre-flow and just go ahead and turn that post-flow off or low, or you wave your torch around after the weld, you're going to have no coverage on that tungsten, and it's going to get gray, nasty, or maybe a little bit of a blue color. That's going to be those oxides formed on the end of your tungsten. And as soon as you light up for the next weld, boom, you're going to throw all that contamination into the beginning of your weld. And again, if you get to the end of that weld, you're going to want some post-flow. So just want to wait for that post-flow to properly cool your tungsten so that you're ready for the next weld. It'll stay nice and clean, nice and gold. That's what's going to keep your weld nice and dirty-free. The next obvious one is having some clean base material. If you have some clean base metal, it's always going to weld a lot better. If you see like this little layer of skin kind of rising up as you weld, that means you didn't prep that enough, or it just has a really heavy oxide layer on it. Take a brush, take a Scotch-Brite pad, do something to break that oxide up and wipe it free with some acetone. You'll find even clean material is still a little bit dirty. That goes the same for your filler metal too. I've had this filler metal laying around the shop for Lord knows how long, and it definitely needed to scrub down and wipe down more than one time because it was absolutely filthy. And you know your filler metal's dirty because as you dip, you can see it come off the filler metal into each dip, and it's just little bits of pepper just floating in every dip or dab. That's how I see that my filler metal probably needs to be a little bit cleaner. Just like welding any other metal with TIG welding, your argon flow rate is going to really contribute to the cleanliness of your weld. I was like, when in doubt, throttle out when it comes to carbon and stainless steel. A big old cup, bunch of gas, can't go wrong with that. Whereas with aluminum, you're not doing it any favors. We're going to go down to a smaller style cup. Got a number 7 on here with the gas lens setup. If I go ahead and try to turn the argon way up like I might if I'm trying to weld really pretty colors with stainless steel, there's so much turbulence on this soft weld, and I'm still seeing oxides getting pulled in from all that back pressure that we're seeing from the torch being so narrow, and it's just so aggressive on that weld. Now, if you turn things a lot lower, closer to like 10 or 12, maybe 13, I feel like you can still get away with welding here, but God forbid there's a little draft or a little breeze or your torch changes an angle, still not enough shielding gas to really get us a nice clean weld all the way across. It's probably the dirtiest one of them all. Turn that pressure up just a little bit past, closer to 15 to 20 CFH, and you found a really nice flow rate, nice sounding arc. Everything just seems to want to be more balanced when you just run that aluminum somewhere between, we'll call it 15 to 20 CFH. Speaking of balance, if you find that your material is just dirty and you've got your gas flow rates well, you've cleaned everything religiously, maybe it's just some dirty cast, you can adjust the balance on the machine. Because we're working in an alternating current, you can pick between DC negative or DC positive and the amount of time you spend on either or when you're adjusting your balance. In layman's terms, if you spend more time on the positive side, you're going to have more cleaning action to it. The drawback to that is the amount of energy that you're putting on your tungsten electrode. That little ball that you tried to have a nice controlled tip to now is going to be out of control. And if you're welding, that tungsten is balling up and fizzling around, you're putting contamination into your weld puddle just the same, and it's going to be violent. You're going to have to do some fine tuning, maybe some pulse, something else in order to hold your tungsten shape. Because I mean, we were welding with 1/8 tungsten and we were still getting some violent action when we turn that balance all the way up. This Everlast Typhoon 230, 30% is a pretty average balance, I'd say. I might get up into 50, but now we're teetering on the edge. Some other machines, they don't work quite the same, and it's almost reversed. They start like at 50, so if you wanted more positive, you would want to go up, and that is closer to 30, would be closer to 70. It's so I wish they'd all do it the same, but they don't. So as long as you see that aggressive arc tungsten's getting too crazy, your balance is probably too high. You need to reel that back as much as you can. Now, amperage is one of those things is fundamentally as a welder that you have to pick the right amperage to weld whatever you're trying to weld. But aluminum is a little tricky because what you start off welding with is not usually what you finish off welding with. Aluminum has such a high thermal conductivity. As you weld, the aluminum's pulling your heat away from your weld very rapidly. So that's why you always typically need a lot more amperage to weld it than, say, your steel. But after you get started for a little bit, now that aluminum starts to get hot, and when it's hot, and all of a sudden it starts to sink and fall out. That's where we got to find that balance. They say the rule of thumb is you get 1 amp per 1 thou of base metal thickness. So I've got 3/16 plate right here. That's 0.1875. We're looking at 187 amps right there, which is a lot of beans. So let's see what that looks like. We're going to run our first bead nice and hot all the way across. No control, just 187 amps all the way across. Now, I really need you guys to understand what too cold looks like, so we're going to dial that machine way back, way down low, closer to like 80 amps, and we're just going to go ahead and get on it. Now, we're not going to necessarily adjust anything as far as travel speed. We'll get there. You're going to notice it's really stubborn to manipulate a cold puddle. And then if you don't have any way to control that amperage, even still, starting off at the beginning, in the middle, it seems to be okay. Then we get to the end and we're going to blow it out, even if we're in the middle of those amperage ranges at like 135. And we can take a look at these welds right here. We can see the first one clear as day is super duper hot. We got no definition in those ripples. It's washed out, and towards the end, we're just blowing it out. And you can even see on the backside that we've got a little bit more penetration than, say, this middle weld, which is far too cold. It's lumpy, it's humpy. It is the shiniest of all of them. We got a lot less amperage here, but still none of that shiny. We're just not controlling our variables well enough. We still don't have that balance. And the best way that I know how to balance my amperage with aluminum is using a foot pedal remote or a thumb switch amp controller. Either way, you give it all the way down, you get all the amps, you start backing off, you get less amps. You have full control with that type of remote. With your foot pedal or your amp controller, you want to set the machine for a little bit more than you think you need, and then you're able to ease into it. You never just want to stomp on that foot pedal. That's going to be that aggressive start that we talked about that you don't want to do. No stomping. You always want to just ease into everything. And then once you see a puddle, you ease into it a little bit more. And then you're bam, 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 bam. You're starting to put those dimes in there and you're seeing it. We can adjust our amperage with that foot pedal and lock it in. We don't want to be like doing a drum solo on a bass foot pedal, you know what I'm talking about, up and down on a foot control. We want to be able to lock it in, and when we see that puddle start to wash out, we can back off of it. And it's always going to happen in the same places. At the beginning, it's going to need a little bit to get started, so we ease in. You're probably going to be maxing out right here and then backing off somewhere in here. You need to know all these things, where you're at on the plate, towards the edges, towards the corners, whatever it may be. Having a controller or remote is absolutely crucial for that. But it's not something that you're always going to have. Not every machine comes with a foot pedal. I think it should, especially if it has AC capabilities, but sometimes you're stuck with this guy right here. And I call this a hot switch. It's basically your on and off. You can still use a hot switch to weld aluminum. You just need to get a little bit more familiar with your welding machine. Adjusting your upslope and your downslope will help with that ramping up and ramping down that I talked about that you need with your foot pedal, and then maintaining that amperage in between, and it's all up to your travel speed. I see where we're going with that. You know, I was digging through my consumable drawer back there, and like most of the consumables I got for like anything standard or regular TIG torch is from Avocor Benzol. Collets, gas lenses, all my cups, all that good stuff. It's usually an Avocor Benzol product. And then I got on their site because I was thinking about these controllers, and I just went down a rabbit hole down on their site. If you look at these Abbey torches for your Series 9 or 26s, water-cooled or air-cooled with the controllers built in, really sweet ergonomic handles, sure would be nice to give me a hold of one of them. Real quick, before we get into that final thing of the Holy Trinity, I do want to talk about filler metal. Your filler is your chiller. And what I mean by that is when you throw in filler metal into your weld pool, it's going to cool off that weld puddle and essentially make your travel speed a little bit slower. And if that filler metal isn't very clean, then you're going to be affecting all parts of the Trinity here. I saw a video the other day on the fabricator. He was going around welding a bung and some cast aluminum, and he was welding a circle. And he fed the wire from the same spot all the way around 360. I think that's just an absolute awesome way to practice when it comes to filler metal placement in your puddle as you're working around that circle or just going willy-nilly. Just play with it, right? I do want you guys to practice feeding that wire in your hand a little bit, along with putting it in the right spot, right between the center and right between the edge of your weld pools where you're trying to aim that one piece of filler. And with aluminum, each dab is more than a tap, it's a feed. Just understand that as you're introducing your filler, that's your chiller that can affect your travel speed and everything that affects this trinity. All right, what was I talking about? Travel speed. Yeah, that's what we're talking about, travel speed. The idea here is the same as balancing our amperage with our foot pedal. All you have to do is pick an amperage and then pick your travel speed. If everything's nice and clean, then you might just have to weld slower or weld faster. If I can't control my amperage and I'm going to use just this hot switch with, of course, the up and down slope and everything and pre and post flow that we already talked about, I'll use this hot switch and I'm going to weld at 3 different amperages. Starting off with our Goldilocks amperage where everything is just right. Our travel speed's just right. Our amperage is what we'd like to be set to. Everything's nice and clean. And now we're going to turn everything back up. Remember when we said that this weld was too hot at 180 something amps? We're going to run it at 180 amps and we're just going to move fast. Boy, we're going to just go and send it. We're going to bop, 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 bop. Granted, the material is not as hot because it's just one bead on that plate compared to a few, but you guys get it. And now we're going to turn things all the way back down to the same amperage we ran this little stringy guy at, close to 80 or 90 amps. Now we just have to take our sweet little time. We're going to just wait for a puddle to be there, really wait for it, and we understand what it looks like, and we put a doot, a little dot, a little dab, and we wait, and we wait, and we wait. And eventually we get the job done. It's not ideal, right? But if you're stuck at a certain amperage, whether it be hot, cold, or just right, all you have to do is adjust your travel speed accordingly. I think I proved my point here. I mean, I did my best. The welds look very much similar, right? At those 3 different amperages. Again, the whole point of this video is to balance the trinity, balance cleanliness, your amperage with your travel speed, and be able to interpret your weld while you're welding or afterwards. You can look at it and be like, I know exactly what that needs. I hope this video helped. Now go weld something.